And about 6 months into that journey, I feel I'm out studying, I'm out working, I'm out hustling everybody. I've got the coaches, and I still felt like I was lighting money on fire. So, determined not to quite give up, I hired my own mindset and performance coach. She happened to be a hypnotherapist. No real idea what that was, what the impact would be. In a very short amount of time, the amount of money I was playing for and earning on the poker table drastically increased. Yet more importantly, the impact she had on me as an individual, indescribable. So much so, I walked away from poker. I phased out my nutrition coaching, doubled down on mindset work, got my credentials as a hypnotherapist, and haven't looked back since.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Be What Works Weekly. And today I'm here with Paul Salter. Paul, tell the people exactly, well, maybe not exactly, but tell them what it is you do.
Yes. Well, Mike, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. I am a mindset and performance coach, a credentialed hypnotherapist, and I help people get unstuck out of their own way so they can achieve their potential.
How did you come upon this? Because I think this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, so a roller coaster of a story. My coaching background began as a sports dietitian, working at the collegiate, professional, Olympic level. Absolutely loved it, yet started to venture away more into what I started labeling sustainable weight loss from the inside out. Everybody knows how to eat well. Why aren't you doing it consistently? Well, there's something in your heart, something in your head that's holding you back. And that really shaped the foundation of my approach to my mindset work, psychological behavior change. But about 10 years into it, I reached a fork in the road. I've got this irrepressible passion for the game of poker. And I keep telling myself it's either now or I'm going to dream about it for the rest of my life and never do it. So my coaching business is in a good place, and I decide now's the time. So I go all in on playing poker professionally. And about 6 months into that journey, I feel I'm out studying, I'm out working, I'm out hustling everybody. I've got the coaches, and I still felt like I was lighting money on fire. So, determined not to quite give up, I hired my own mindset and performance coach. She happened to be a hypnotherapist. No real idea what that was, what the impact would be. In a very short amount of time, the amount of money I was playing for and earning on the poker table drastically increased. Yet more importantly, the impact she had on me as an individual, indescribable. So much so, I walked away from poker. I phased out my nutrition coaching, doubled down on mindset work, got my credentials as a hypnotherapist, and haven't looked back since.
Holy cow, that's quite the story. Because you hired somebody to help you make more money in poker, get better at poker. They did that. You started getting the results that you wanted, which was the money. And then you said, there's a bigger mountain to climb.
Bingo. And
That's
it's
amazing.
kind of boring. And, I love poker, but it's unfulfilling. I like to help. I like to provide value, and taking people's money in a grungy basement casino, not my calling.
Sitting around with boxes of Oreos and breaking them. Sorry, I couldn't resist that. So who is it you help?
Yeah, so I help what I call high performers. Anybody who is already familiar with doing the work, recognizes the value and importance of personal development, has clarity on their unique mountain that they want to climb, and recognizes they can't do it alone, and also recognizes in at least some capacity they know what to do, but they're struggling to actually do it. Because I don't solve knowledge gaps. Google and ChatGPT or business tactical coaches do that. But when you know what to do and you're not doing it, that's where I come into play, because that's a mindset program. That's an emotional program holding you back.
And what does that look like for somebody coming in? And I understand that the mind controls everything. What you believe, what you can conceive, you believe about. All of that is wonderful, but I think there's a true difference between people that understand, yes, here is my block, but what does it look like to open that up?
So the brain is hardwired to create patterns and programs to maintain efficiency, with the top objective being survival.
Yes.
Yet you, me, everybody listening wants to do a hell of a lot more than survive. We want to thrive. So the problem we run into, especially when we know what to do, is that the moment we step outside our comfort zone, it's a major red flag. The subconscious is like, what the is going on here? Red alert, foreign invader. So it concocts all of these, what I call destructive mindset programs. And everyone listening, you know them as the imposter syndrome, the procrastination, the perfectionism, the fear of failure, judgment, embarrassment, success. These programs are deployed to bring you back down into your bubble of familiarity. So the first step is honesty, vulnerability, and a courage to admit, you know what? I have these tendencies, these patterns of believing, thinking, and behaving that are detrimental. They're holding me back. And when we can begin to dig into what is holding you back, we can then begin to understand whether it's anxiety, fear, shame, guilt, anger, and all of the subsequent sabotaging behaviors that come with them. They're all learned, which means they can be unlearned. And that's where I come in and we start unlearning from the place of origin they were learned so we can take that energy and now actually use it to build the belief system and the set of behaviors you need to summit your own mountain.
I love that. But how does that path look for somebody? They raise their hand, they reach out to you and schedule a consultation. And you say, okay, we're gonna begin this work. How long does a typical I'm assuming you hypnotize them. That would
Yeah,
be a fair assumption, right?
that's a
Uh,
great assumption.
how long of a journey is that for them? How often? What does it look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's assume, that first call is all about, is this a perfect mutual fit? And can I confidently answer the question, can I help you? Assuming that's there, everything's vibing on the same wavelength and we move forward, the hypnosis portion is a staple component of every single call. And I work in packages of calls, packages of 12 calls. These 12 calls typically spread out over 8 or 9 months. But what's really phenomenal is when we get to the crux of everything, all of the challenges that appear on the surface level, again, the performance anxiety, the imposter syndrome, perfectionism, as we start to dig in deeper, we start to see that they're all connected to a core belief, a core fear. I'm not good enough, worthy, deserving. I'm afraid to stand out, experience next level success. So the best part of this work, Mike, is when we get to the crux of what's really influencing these negative sabotaging behaviors and we start hitting that block from multiple angles, you get to experience a positive ripple effect, sure, in the office, but in your home life, in your marriage, in your respective hobby, passion, or sport. It has a positive ripple into every area of your life.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, do you help them? And I'm just guessing, so I'm fishing here, is what I'm doing. Is there a redesign of expectations, of goals? Because I would assume there's some aspect of you're redefining yourself, or maybe you're finding your more authentic self.
That buzzword right there. You're absolutely spot on. So we've got to get very clear. What do you want? And for some people, they don't know. And we have to do a lot of digging and probing and stop putting up a filter or playing small. And that's half the battle for so many people. They're afraid to admit what they want because society, their parents, their environment is conditioned to them that it's not safe to go after these big, audacious goals. But when we get clear, we start to realize, yes, I'm a hypnotherapist, but what I'm really doing is dehypnotizing you from the nonsense you've picked up during your upbringing that gets you back to your aligned, authentic self. And when you can fully, candidly, and confidently express what it is you want, that's powerful. And we
Right.
get to go down that path instead.
Well, and empowering them to actually go get it and get outside of, let go of the things that have protected them. And I use air quotes here, because they sometimes, well, a lot of times those things they no longer serve.
Yes.
And
Spot
then
on.
would you say that a lot of these things go back to, a much younger age where their earlier version of themselves was ill-equipped to deal with what they were going through, so they took on, sometimes personality traits, sometimes behaviors, sometimes, a way of thinking that protected them so much that it encapsulated their true self, just to protect them, and now they can't let that person out because there's too much fear around it.
You're spot on. So all of these protective coping mechanisms you have alluded to have one purpose, and that's to ensure that one or all of their core human needs are met rather. So do I belong, feel connected, seen, heard, accepted? So we'll use a common example. Let's say the oldest of four kids, when it was just him or her, they get all of mom and dad's love and attention. They're spoiled by the grandparents, the family members. But as mom keeps popping out one kid after the next, that attention, love, and energy starts to feel like it's distributed and they're getting less and less. So now they don't feel seen, heard, connected like they belong as much as they used to. As you said so well, they pick up a pattern, they pick up on something, they double down on. And it could be perfectionism. They're the standout straight A student. That's the only way they feel they get love and validation. Or it could be they begin to rebel, they lash out, they get in trouble because that too gets them attention. It's just, yes, not the positive attention, but it's still getting that attention that young boy or girl needs.
Yeah. Yeah. It's still attention. So the mind recognizes it as the same thing. You've hit two things, and the first one, which is an imposter syndrome, it's 9:17 in the morning, and I've heard those two words no less than 8 times already today, because I had a coaching call earlier, and it seems to be a struggle that I think is the number one. And the way I dealt with imposter syndrome years ago, and somebody said it, and I went, "Oh my gosh, that's exactly how I feel." Because I had risen to a level in my business, in coaching, to where I was like, I'm coaching these people, and to be honest with you, there's part of me that doesn't even believe that I am the person that they believe. I mean, I'm still the same guy I was before. I just have hit a level of success, and there was no ownership of it, you know. So, and then I thought to myself, well, imposter syndrome must be as you level up, I guess, is the easiest way to say it. So your life changes. You 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 climb the ladder at work, or in my case, I sell real estate. So I had helped more families, and people are like, oh my gosh, and even in my own world, it was a level of success that I never thought I would attain when I got into the business 20 years ago. So there's part of me that is always fearful, well, this is going to go away. This is only temporary. You're only getting to taste it for a little while because you don't deserve to be here. And the way I processed it was, wait a second, this must happen to everyone when they get to the next level. And then you have to be there for a while to absorb it and be comfortable with it. But then you also have to, at least in my mind, you have to go fail at something else. You have to move forward. You have to keep going. You have to get up, and it's always this climbing. What's something, if somebody's listening and they're going, God, you're talking about me. What's something that you implement? It could be a tactic, it could be questions that maybe if somebody was like, I don't ever want anybody to know that I deal with this, but God, Paul, could you please give me something that would help me right now? What would be a couple things? Could be just one that you would like to volunteer.
Get incredibly curious. And what I mean by that is through a lens of non judgmental curiosity, you need to begin to reflect. And I'm a big advocate for some form of a stillness and silence practice, whether it's journaling, meditation, or just sitting in nothingness. Because there's a quote that I heard, and I joke, I still can't remember where I heard it, but it was so profound. And it's that the voice of your subconscious mind is silence. So if you shut up and tune in, the answers are there. So if we run with this, if somebody is struggling with imposter syndrome, the first journal prompt you want to answer is, what do you want? And that's
Mm.
actually something I ask myself every single day in my journal. It's a different answer every day, but there's similarities, there's overlaps, patterns, themes emerge. And as you're answering that question, it's tuning in, getting curious. What's the physical sensation that arises as you start to take ownership and vulnerably admit what you want? Is there tension, tightness, discomfort, butterflies? And what you can do is use that as a fast track to go back in time. And this is accelerated in hypnosis, but still easily done on your own. When else did you feel this way? When you were talking about goals, desires, and dreams? And you can start to uncover, where did you learn the belief that will sound something similar to, it's not safe to achieve that. It's not safe to stand out. I'm not worthy of that. And through that regression or reflection, you can begin to see that it's not even your belief. Mom and dad played small. You don't have to play small. You can give that belief back to them. And that's an empowering process in and of its own that gives you clarity, energy, and momentum to move forward.
No, I love that, especially the clarity. Momentum builds with it. The second thing that you had mentioned that resonates because I I have a lot of friends that are really close to me that are perfectionists, and perfectionism is the enemy of action. I feel, and I struggle with it too. It's like, well, as soon as I have the system just perfect, because I don't want it to be imperfect, because if it's imperfect, it's a reflection of me, and I don't want to appear less than. But it keeps me from doing things. It keeps me from trying, and I think for me, and you tell me if I'm right or not. I don't have to be right, just so you know. Uh, the idea has gone from it has to be perfect before I do it to I want to start doing it so that I fail, so that I know where the deficiencies are and I can fix them as I go.
So what comes up for me in listening to that is, and maybe you experience it, maybe you used to, but those of you listening, is there's still a deep level of attachment to from your self-worth to your results. So if you can only do something perfect because that's when you'll get the love when you were a child, and now it's when you feel good about yourself, and you technically, logically know perfection isn't a thing. It's nothing to really strive for because it doesn't exist. That's what
Right.
creates that friction, that incongruency. So really the deep work here is a detaching yourself from your results, understanding that you're enough, worthy, lovable, and deserving just as you are, which candidly for many people is not a story and experience they have in their younger life, which is why they bring it into their adulthood and their professional life as well.
So how do you get them to go back and recognize that? I mean, there's a feeling worthy is that's a big thing. I mean, that's a huge thing. I deal with people that have a lot of anxiety around being not good enough. So how do you help people overcome that?
Candidly, I'm biased, but hypnosis. It changed my life. It's changed my client's life. And when I'm talking about hypnosis, let's pause.
Yeah.
What hypnosis is not. It's not magic. It's not me on the show, on the stage, rather, like you've seen on a comedy show, a graduation. I'm not dangling a pocket watch or getting you to cluck like a chicken. And I mean, Mike, if you want me to, I can. Be careful. No.
I, I
um,
I felt like clucking right there, but no.
it's not mind control. It's not magic. It's not brainwashing. Hypnosis is literally a deep state of relaxation. It's when our brain is primarily producing theta brain waves. It's that sweet spot between sleep and slight relaxation. It's a natural state of mind. Every single one of you listening right now has already been in hypnosis multiple times today because it's the same state you're in the moment you transition from sleeping to waking. When you're caught up in a good book, when you're binging Mike's podcast, or when you find that flow state in the office or on the golf course. So I say that to normalize it, to see and help you see just how familiar it is. But when you go there intentionally, Mike, two big benefits are created. Number one, it quiets that harsh inner critic judgmental voice we all have. So we sidestep all of that nonsense and negativity. And then two, we connect with your subconscious mind. 95% of what you and I do every day is influenced by our subconscious mind. Our subconscious is home to our memories, emotions, beliefs, and habits. So I'll use hypnosis to uncover, if we run with perfectionism, when, where, why, and how did you learn this perfectionistic coping mechanism? That in and of itself produces an opportunity for a powerful perspective shift. More importantly, it now gives us the opportunity to do the work to unlearn the belief and the accompanying behaviors. And the immediate byproduct is energy. And that energy then is easily, readily available to now institute new beliefs and new behaviors that help you get out of your own way and ascend to that next level of success.
Wow. Okay. So sorry, my mind's going five different ways, and which I appreciate the conversation. I would say the biggest Achilles heel I have, or I've noticed, or I've witnessed with especially high performing males, is a learned behavior that when criticism comes in, they get defensive, and a lot of, especially powerful ones. I just witnessed it yesterday with an attorney. As soon as that criticism comes in, they snap. I mean, just like, and some of them to a violent. This one got a little, it got a little too much. I mean, a 70-year-old guy that snaps over something trivial. Um, but that's basically a learned behavior. So that's something that could be addressed, which is, hey, how do you react when an old issue gets brought up by a stranger? Sometimes a stranger on the internet.
It's triggering. And
Yeah.
just like you mentioned, if we run with that 7-year-old attorney for a second, maybe he was bullied and picked on the playground at 6, 7, 8 years old. And just as that comment or the vocality, the tone, the volume of it, his subconscious goes back to that moment where it's, these kids, they're picking on me. It's a terrible, traumatic life for him. And now, yes, decades later, it's not nearly the same. His survival, his well-being is A-okay, but just the triggering notion of that noise, that sound, that word, it sets off a domino effect because that triggers an emotion, which then permeates into our belief. A belief is nothing more than a filter through how we see the world and decide to act. And then that goes into our self-talk and our behaviors.
Love that. Belief is just a filter. I'm sorry, I'm taking notes too. I'm a student more than I am a teacher. Um, the last thing is, or at least the second thing that I really wanted to touch on from what you said was, when you first wake up, your mind is coming out of I've ended up buying an Aura ring because now my wife and I go, well, how much was your sleep and what was your latency and what was your but what I have found is that as soon as I become conscious of my being after sleep, I am in that kind of like, we're not hitting the real world yet, and I have my own routine that I go through. What would you suggest somebody do if this is all new to them and they're like, hey, if I can at least maybe touch on my subconscious, or at least if that's the optimal time, what would be a morning routine that you would suggest somebody start with? And you mentioned journaling, which I love. So I'm going to throw that in there because I think that's very powerful. That's setting intentions, and I believe that you should move through life with intention. That's when you're most powerful. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let you go.
Lowest hanging fruit before you even get out of bed, find 3 things you're grateful for. Our mind is programmed to find all the negativity. You've got to consciously commit to consistently finding the good and the many things to be grateful for. That's the low hanging fruit. You do it in your mind. Take a moment to feel it. So I am grateful for, my dog. And I take a deep breath and I just remember the laughter, the play, the silliness of my dog. Boom, I've done that. I would say the bonus, most powerful step is I personally have a recording of my own voice with goals, intentions, call them affirmations, if you will. It's 2.5 minutes long. So I pop in my AirPods quickly. It's got a little nice chill music in the background. I listen to that. I update it every few weeks too, with just different statements, because that gets me incredibly primed and, as you said, intentional about my actions, how I'm spending my time and attention.
I love that. Um, the the brain. This is going into the reticular activation. The brain looks for what it has been told to look for, I guess, is the easiest way to say it. Um, so you're almost programming yourself in the morning. I followed influencers that, I mean, it's a myriad of things. It's before I go to bed, I journal and I write down the things I have to do tomorrow so that I get them out of my head. I put them on
Yes.
paper so that I can sleep better. I've gone through, and it still happens to me every once in a while, but when I first took on employees, I was a solo entrepreneur, and I had to hire employees because I had too much business. So I hired employees. It would wake me up at 3 in the morning, between 3 and 3:30, and my mind is just racing. Like, oh, if you've never hired employees, I will tell you, when you hire employees and you realize that you're responsible for somebody else's livelihood, it's a very scary thing. So um, I found that I would go to sleep 10, 9:30, 11, whatever. But I was consistently waking up at 3 or 3:30.
Mhm.
And somebody said, "Hey, just start journaling before you go to bed. Put everything out that you want to accomplish the next day and next week or whatever the goals are. Get them out of your head, sleep." Um, I will lay down in bed right as I'm awake, keep my eyes closed, and I will think of things that I'm grateful for, things that I am definitely going to accomplish today, things that people I need to call or talk to. Like not just go on Facebook and send them a message, but actually reach out, touch base with.
Hmm.
Uh, and then one of my favorites is there somebody that I have a riff with, or we have there's an imbalance, the relationship has been lost, things like that. Who do I need to apologize to? I guess is the easiest way to say it. So,
I like that.
so things like that. You're not going to tell them to drink 16 ounces of room temperature water with lemon and
Sea
uh,
salt.
yeah, sea salt. So, which is really good for you, to be honest with you. Somebody had told me, if you really want to find yourself or you really want to know who you are, sit quietly and meditate for 20 minutes, no distraction, and that some people just can't make it that long. What's the benefit of sitting quiet? Because you've mentioned it before. What's the benefit of just sitting with yourself?
Well, first, start with 2 minutes. 2 minutes is better than 0 minutes if 20
Okay.
seems daunting. Just like you alluded to, you described it well. You quiet your mind. Look, our attention is competing with so many freaking things. There's millions of bits of information being thrown at us every single millisecond. We lose sight of who we are. We start taking on the opinions, decisions, beliefs of other people. And before we know it, we get sucked down a rabbit hole, not just metaphorically, but literally in life. We wake up and it's been 2 years. We don't know who we are. Why are we spending time with these people? Why do we have these behaviors? The daily silence and solitude practice allows us to remain aligned, authentic, true to ourselves so we can then think, act, and decide accordingly.
I like that because at the end of the day, it's you are the main character of your life, and you're not the main character for anybody else's. And if you can't sit with you, then it's going to be really tough for you to be content, I guess. And happiness comes from being content, like being that's awesome. If somebody's listening, Paul, and what you said really resonated with them and they'd like to go down this rabbit hole, how could they get a hold of you?
Head on over to thegolfhypnotherapist.com. I don't only work with golfers. That's just a niche down website name. Let me be very clear.
Yes, it is.
Otherwise, you can send me an email, paul at unstuckyourselfmindset.com.
I love that. I love that. Well, I appreciate your time and I look forward to future conversations. Good chance I'll be a client of yours. Got about 57 years worth of stuff to unravel. So, thank you again. Thank you again. And tell the dog, what kind of dog is that?
He's a Rottweiler lab mix.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I love Rottweilers. We had one. He lived 14 years. Scariest dog I've ever had. I love them.
The bark is intimidating, but they're wonderful.
Yeah, well, they're wonderful to have, especially if you travel a lot and your wife doesn't. So,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, buddy. Well, I appreciate your time. Have a great day.
Likewise, right back at you.
Thanks.